On Friday, the 28th of February, 2025, at 45 minutes past midnight UK time, it is the once every year annual Pisces New Moon. So what's special about this, I hear you saying? Well, on the one hand, not a lot, because every year you get a Pisces New Moon. And there's always just one a year. This one is, it's not unusual, but it is different for two different reasons. One is that it's the harbinger of something that's coming up big time over the medium long term. And the other is that it's quite unusual for the aspect pattern. So let's look at the short term stuff first, the actual influence of this new moon at the moment it happens and in the next week or two afterwards. It's taking place at 9 degrees 0 minutes of Pisces. What's unusual is that all the planets in the sky are in one half of the sky at the moment, which is why we've got this big planetary lineup going on as I speak. And it peaks on Friday evening, the evening of the 28th. Now, it is true that you will, if you have a good telescope and if you are in a good location where there's a flat horizon and a clear sky and you know exactly where you're looking, you will be able to see Mercury and Saturn together setting on the eastern horizon for a few minutes after sunset. If your telescope is good, you will also be able to see Uranus and Neptune, and you'll also be able to see Venus quite clearly, as well as Mars and Jupiter right into the early mid-morning. So on that night, you're going to be able to see, if you've got a good telescope and you know where to look, you're going to be able to see Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, every planet in the sky except Pluto. And you could even see that if your telescope was super duper electron powered, There are no oppositions with this new moon, which in itself is a bit strange, because to see a horoscope without any opposition suggests that there's no permanent big problems. However, the Sun and the Moon together at 9 degrees 0 of Pisces will be squared to Jupiter in early mid-Gemini by about 2 degrees. And this does suggest that there's going to be a lot of overinflatedness around this new moon, where a lot of people are going to be making lots of big statements and promises, whether it be to do with the mineral deals in Ukraine, whether it be to do with the contracts for the hotels on the Gaza Strip. I am being facetious when I say that. It is a time where I would advise you personally that there's going to be a lot of hype and spin. So don't buy into anything that's going on the Thursday or the Friday of this week, because it's overinflated. It's larger than life. It's people biting off more than they can chew, making mountains made out of molehills, or over-exaggerating, over-emphasizing. So in the short term, it's not that easy a new moon, but neither is it a real stinker. But that's the short term. The medium term is that this is the start of the movement into the great conjunction that's coming up at the end of March. At this new moon, Mercury will be conjunct Saturn. Neptune is exactly conjunct the North Node. Venus is about to go retrograde. And the more we get into the end of March, all of these points in the sky will come together. There will be a week covering the period at the end of March and start of April, where Mercury and Venus and Jupiter and Mercury and Venus and Saturn and Neptune and the North Node will all be within 4 or 5 degrees of each other, and this is going to last for a week. And it's all happening at the end of Pisces. So on the one hand, those people born in the last week of Pisces, last week of Virgo, and to a lesser extent, the last week of Gemini and Sagittarius, you can expect certain situations in your life to expand and escalate big time at the end of March, start of April. It also suggests that there's going to be a lot of big news in the world. But, and this is, well, I'll be covering, I'm not going to go too much about this now because I'm dealing with a new moon now, but I'm going to cover this in a couple of videos I'm doing later today. One for the world regarding March and one for the membership regarding the next 2 weeks. I will also be referring to the partial eclipse of the sun on 2 occasions this year. One at the next new moon on the 29th of March, I believe, and the second around the 21st of September at 29 degrees of Pisces, directly opposite Neptune and Saturn. That's going to be much more interesting. And in many ways, when all of these times are upon us, and the corresponding events are happening in the world, we will then be in a better position to look back and say, okay, the acceleration into this, the ramping up of pressure started with that Pisces new moon square Jupiter on the 28th of February. I'm on record as having said that January and February are the kind of calm before the storm. And as we approach the end of February, I'm looking back now at my words, which I said at the start of January, and thinking, blimey, if January and February have been the calm before the storm, what does that mean for the rest of the year? But I'm also on record a number of times over the last decade or so as having said that 2025 and 2026 are a game changer. And don't worry about that noise, I just dropped my microphone. But it's a great time to be alive. It's a time where this is the beginning of a time where we really start to grow in ourselves and to trust our own senses, our own intuition, and our own way of seeing the world instead of relying on the governments, the social media, the mass media to tell us what we should be thinking, feeling, and experiencing. I'm not advocating revolution, anarchy, or any type of disruption here. I'm just saying, trust yourself. This is the start of the new beginning that's going to really sweep around the world over the coming year. Get out there on the Thursday and Friday night. If you've got clear skies, you're going to see some spectacular planets out there. Catch you later, world. Bye now.